I am ready to stream. Are you guys ready to stream?
I am so ready.
I feel like
I'm totally not because
He's still fixing
so much,
his microphone.
I spent so much time in preparing some of the content we're going to be showing you guys that I actually didn't
there's
allocate.
nothing prepared.
Well, I didn't allocate time to think about what the hell I'm going to say, which I usually spend like a bit of time, but this time it took us all the way till the end. So I'm basically going to wing this whole thing, Matt. But that's not too different from
Wait, you
usual,
don't do that every time?
I was going to say, we have, as you probably guessed, a lot to talk about today.
Yes.
We've been waiting to talk about this for quite a while.
Yes.
But before we do that, we have to get through some housekeeping, and
Yes.
we're going to show off some stuff. So I'm not going to belabor this intro. We don't have anything to talk about.
Okay, so
In
I'm
the
gonna,
intro,
I'm gonna
so-
take the reins
So
here.
yeah, HB is gonna lead us on to glory.
So first things first, I'm HB, this is Mark, and this is Matt.
Oh yeah, I didn't introduce this.
Welcome to our Devstream. We're not gonna beat around the bush. We're gonna go straight into our Devstream. This is gonna be the first half of our winter update preview. So stay tuned.
I would say almost, in some ways, it's the smaller half in terms of the content, but
This is a smaller half?
it's bigger in terms of the how special it's gonna be, right?
Well, then.
And take that as you will. But yeah.
You guys are gonna have to stay tuned on the next Devstream as
Yes.
well. But before we go into that, we're gonna go into the community highlights preview, which is for everybody that doesn't know, community highlights is a bi-weekly dev blog post that KFC does with all the cool stuff that the community has been doing. It has audio, video, images, text, a lot of cool stuff, and we do a little preview in here. We can switch anytime. There you go. So starting off, Mummy continues to do really cool art. Mummy has been doing this kind of like chibi SD version of the Warden character that they have, which is always really funny with like little comic book strips and everything. But there's this one on the top which is like a more realistic, I guess more it's anime-like but more realistic proportions, and I really love it. It's a very dynamic scene. I think it's really cool.
I like how the medic bag is actually visible now on the character in that drawing. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's an interesting touch. I think that there's some shadows missing on the foot, but other than that, it's pretty cool. Padfoot. Speaking of foot, Padfoot for Halloween did Warden Jack-o'-lantern, a Warden-o'-lantern. I don't know how to say that, which is pretty damn sweet as well. Colonials, where is your
I think
Halloween
that's-
spirit?
Oh, I don't think they have any, but I think this is the first time we've seen that.
A pumpkin?
A
3
pumpkin
years,
carving?
right?
Yeah.
Is it? I don't recall.
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen it before. I definitely am bummed that there's no colonial one, but
Yeah.
that one's probably a lot harder to carve into a pumpkin if I'm being honest.
Floating pieces and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it looks really sweet. I'm very happy to see that. Panzer, oh my god, his name got much larger. Panzer 4 with a keyhole turtleneck.
I'd like some information behind that username, actually.
I know, right? What is going on with that? What is going on with that truck?
Okay,
It's rocket truck.
So
Is that-
he has taken some of the game files and mashed them up with other stuff. So this is like a Katusha rocket type thing on the back of like a truck. I think it's like a flatbed or maybe just something. Anyway, yeah, he's done a bunch of mashups and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I
that.
saw the other mashup and it's really sweet. It's just that I was not sure exactly what was going on with the top part there.
Well, I think the cool thing about it is I've talked to Julian so many times about potentially having this kind of vehicle in the game, and he's always said that if we were to ever do something like that, it would probably just look like one of the standard trucks with a rack of rockets on the back. So
So there you go. That's
Yeah.
exactly what is
that's
there.
exactly what's there.
And on the other side of the screen we have Toronto. doing amazing pixel art.
How many times I gotta say, how many times have we shown?
I don't even care.
Because it's so good.
It is so
Like,
fucking good.
It's so consistently.
Sorry for the custom. We can curse, right?
We can swear as much as we want.
Fantastic.
It's actually pretty wild. How there's almost like a full like game's worth of sprites at this point for like an Advance Wars style game, and even the Advance Wars style like portrait in the corner.
Yeah. Which is also pretty amazing. It's not easy to go from one style of pixel art to another like that and keep like this consistency, you know? So, goddamn good job. I just want to play like an arcadey fucking. You know what I want to play? I want to play as like either a colonial soldier or a warden soldier on like a
Metal Slug?
like a Metal Slug type of game in which you're like going against all the stuff coming out. That would be so sweet.
Mark and I have laughed and thrown around to like the idea of like an auto battler or something. And I think a style like
that would
this
be so
like an auto
cool.
battler would be cool.
Sounds like a side project.
Sounds like a side project to me. Cool. Let me talk to you, Torano. Okay, and this is also
this one was so sweet.
So amazing.
Yeah.
These are miniatures, right? Painted and custom made, and it's just like these like full on scenes of things happening, like the wardens being ambushed by the colonials. And then there's this also another one of them like taking over other areas. This is really, really, really cool.
Like we always like our a really fun thing that we always wanted to do, but we never had the time or the resources was to make one of these scenes at like the office or something.
I know.
Yeah, we did a bootleg version of this.
That was way crappier than this.
Yeah,
Way
for the original
crappier.
Deadlands, where I drew some stuff on the map, and then we had like, you know, we got, I think
Like
we bought
blocks, like wooden blocks.
yeah, but like baby toys and like you know, green like army men, and we used that to like mock up a scene.
This
It
is
was
so cool.
fun.
Anyway, yeah, that's what is there for our community highlights preview. If you have anything that you have done that you think looks really cool, remember that we try to get almost all the stuff that we can possibly get from the community and put it in a blog post that is coming up about, it's probably at the end of the week this week. But if you tune in for things that you cannot see on the preview, for instance, like videos. And a lot of audio content that we cannot show it in here, but you can see it on the Devstream, on the community highlights. And if you have something that you really, really want to showcase, and for some reason we missed like a couple weeks ago or something like that, send it to me or send it to KFC, particularly to KFC. He's the one that does the blog post, and then we'll make sure that you're showcased.
Cool.
And with that, we're actually gonna get into the meat and potatoes of this development update, because we have a lot to talk. It's gonna be a much quicker dev stream. I mean, the dev stream is gonna be as long, but we're gonna try to rush through a lot of content.
Well, I'll tweak that slightly. A lot of content will be next time. This time will be one thing very special.
You know, we should get into a rant right now for 10 minutes of if it's gonna be long or not.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Development update. There we go.
Anticipation.
Road to Winter update. Let's go, Mark.
So we're all the way here, and we finally made it. My mic, make sure it's set correctly. This is going to be important. We finally made it. Obviously, we started showing you guys this roadmap, and I think we did most of what we said we would. There was a couple of things that we weren't able to knock off. Like I think with the communication tools. We probably did half of what we actually want to do. If that, there was still a lot to go in terms of logi improvements. That's still another huge thing on our radar. But the base building revamp is something that we did get to, and we've been waiting so long to work on this actually. And to me, the builders, the engineers have actually had the longest wait. Mm-hmm. Anytime we were asked about something, we're like, "Oh, it's gonna come later. It's gonna come later." But I think it was worth the wait.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. This is really cool.
Yeah. So Foxhole Trench Warfare, our big update of the year. Usually our biggest update comes at the end of the year, and this year it's gonna be Trench Warfare. It's gonna see a big revamp of how you build bases in Foxhole. in a weird way, it's gonna add almost a sub game to the actual game.
I was gonna say
itself.
it's not even like a revamp so much as it just feels new.
Yeah, like it's gonna be new stuff
Not
for
to
them
hype
to
it
do,
up.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys
so-
are gonna you understand what we're talking about.
So I do want to talk first, just before we get into it, in terms of what features are actually going to be coming. I want to talk a little bit about how this whole thing started. I'm not gonna lie. I always knew that this would be like a huge undertaking for us. At last year, we were thinking about starting some of it, but towards the end of the year, we sort of knew it wasn't possible. This year, we started thinking about it a lot more. We were doing some planning at the beginning of the year, and about summertime is when we really got more serious with this work. Matt, do you want to switch back to the slides? Sorry. And really, we started this project called Project Hammer, and basically we set aside a part of the team to sort of section off and start working on this whole new system, while the rest of the team continued working on the updates between like then and now, right? And really what we want to do is to come up with a new system that is going to be like a foundation for Foxhole in the years to come, because we know we haven't done anything with that system for a long time. And there's a couple of things that we wanted. First of all, we wanted to make sure that the new system more closely match the theme that we're trying to go for. Right now, when you go in the game, there's just sort of a lot of like strange things that don't exactly fit the theme. Like the walls are really tall. You just sort of see like a lot of spam everywhere. It doesn't look like what you would imagine a frontline in World War I or II, what it would actually look like. We wanted to make sure that it had like the depth, right? It's not just about spamming a bunch of things, but you can actually go in like deeper, right? There's a lot more options. You want to give players the ability to feel like there is a creative aspect. So, for example, like the bases they build are their bases. It's not like the canned content that we give them, right? So these were sort of like the goals. When we were talking about, when we first started at the beginning to take a look at this, we looked at a lot of references, and we're basically like, what do we want the future of base building to actually look like in the game, right? And these were some of like the references that we saw. We're like, it should look like this. It should feel like this, right? There should be like trenches. There should be like gun nests and like bunkers, and basically give you this feeling, as opposed to right now it's more of like a tower defense sort of feel to it, right? So this was sort of like the visual slash theme that we were trying to shoot for. And then on the gameplay side, we also took a look at that, and we said, okay, what do we want? How do we want this to like affect the gameplay? And what we didn't want to do was to drastically change the game, because we didn't want. We know players were like already doing something. So what we wanted to do was to fit in, even though this system was going to be so new, we wanted to make sure it worked in harmony with what players were already doing in the game, right? So like we took a look at, okay, what is the example of what a trench network or like a bunker network might look like in the game? And we started looking at screenshots of maps that were like in the game itself, and sort of like doing like a mapping on how we feel like, okay, if this was a battle going on from a map that is on live,
How would this develop?
How would this look like with the new system, right?
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time on that, but before even any of that, the one thing,
a big problem to solve.
the big problem to solve.
Something that we always said, hey, it's not doable.
Exactly. So there were some major technical questions that we had to answer, and because the Unreal Engine, which is the base engine that Foxhole runs on, it doesn't support certain things. You can't modify the landscape on the fly, but even worse, you can't modify it in a multiplayer like environment.
Yeah.
That's like almost like twice the challenge. And then some of the other questions we had is how do we build a modular system, right? Because it's a very different from just being able to to plop down a lot of structures. And in doing this system, first of all, in terms of like the landscape side, we had to figure out how to modify that landscape. And we basically had to modify the engine there's a few things there, actually modifying the collision itself, right? So that if your character walks into something like a trench, as an example, they're actually inside the trench. If you
not floating on top.
They're not floating on top. If you throw like a grenade into a trench, it actually lands in there.
Yep.
And you can have a full game in sort of like a subterranean sort of environment. So that was one of the problems. Obviously, like the landscape, we actually had to make sure that it looked like there was a hole, right? That's a whole other thing. And there was a bunch of challenges with regards to, okay, how do you build these on slopes, right? Because obviously, like the world isn't flat, right? So we had to come up with a system on how to handle that. And also with regards to some of the foliage, obviously there's a lot of foliage in the game. We have to figure out a way to work around that. So if you build a trench in a place with foliage, we can optionally have it removed, right? So this is not something that we necessarily want to do, but we knew we wanted the option, right? And then obviously the hardest part is how do you replicate all of this down to 160 players?
Replication for the people that don't know, Mark.
Yes. So basically, how do you send all this information down to 160 players in a way that
they're all seeing the same thing?
Isn't gonna cause like a lot of lag, essentially, right? So that was a huge problem, but we spent a lot of time in trying to solve that. And then on the modular side, we want to make like a snapping system so that when you build these networks, you're not just sort of using like a free-form type of tool, but it'll actually like help you on the way, so you can build bases that look nicer, right? And also like the reactive structures, basically when you attach two pieces together, you want to see them change according to how things were actually like snapped together, right? So example, if you build like two pieces of like a bunker, the inside wall will actually be like removed, right? So then it actually forms like a single bunker instead, right? So that was, and finally structure modifications. There's another thing is on top of actually being able to choose what structure you build, you can actually go in there and modify specific parts of a structure, like examples. Actually, I'll get onto like the examples later, right? So these are some of the screenshots taken from like the earlier experiments, where really the goal was like, how do you make a hole?
Yeah, can we dig a hole?
Right? And we didn't even care about like the visuals at that point. It didn't need to look like anything. We just wanted to make it work with the game, right? So that was sort of like this long project that started at the beginning of the summer, and finally in the fall we had most of the tech that we needed, and it was just a matter of turning it into like an update, right? Which just a matter of a huge undertaking that we're still working on, but yeah, let's get into how all this stuff works. So basically, in the winter update, there's going to be this trench and bunker construction system, right? And I think it's pretty cool because I really haven't seen too many games try to do this. I know some games do have trenches, maybe in some sort of like a Minecraft sort of environment where everything is blocks. But in terms of like a game like Foxhole, I haven't really seen that done. So I might be wrong, but
so we're making a claim here that we don't know if we can substantiate.
Which is my specialty.
We're one of the first.
Yeah, we're one of the first, but
we can have a probably first.
It's the first to me because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
But on the other side, that was one of our goals to say, okay, how do you make a trench building simulator? And that's us going back to, okay, it's almost like a small game within a game.
Yeah.
Right? And so.
Oh, that's what the preview was about.
That's what the preview was. I think everyone knows. I already posted this. I
think everyone knows now
before the stream started. But how does the modular base building system work? Basically, enables construction of large-scale modular trench and bunker networks. Basically, these networks are made out of segments that you can snap together, and then you can build things on these segments. You can upgrade these segments to eventually you can turn them into like a super fortress. And really one of our goals was like at the beginning, going back to our goals, we looked at like the big defensive lines from like the Second World War, like the Atlantic Wall or like the Maginot Line. And our goal was like players have to be able to make that themselves. If they can't, then we're not going to reach our goal, right? So I talked about this slightly before, where the segments will actually like react to the connections, and there's that snapping system. And again, going back to like the modifications, we wanted you to be able to do things like, okay, we want to add a door to like a bunker. We want to add like a firing port so you can like shoot out, or, you know, like that sort of thing. And really with this system in the future, like the sky's the limit. We can add like so many modifications.
Yeah.
And really I'd imagine in a few months from now, like it's just going to be,
We can make
like
so
many
much
options,
cool
right?
stuff. I'm so excited.
So there's a new tool that you need to use, which is the shovel, right? So this is sort of like the another type of hammer, I would say, right?
I mean,
So-
just keeping with Foxhole, we should have used the hammer, but
So people are really wondering, can you kill people with the shovel?
we'll answer that. We'll answer that question
Okay.
later. Yeah.
I feel like that's like the number one question,
Weird.
which is very strange. But anyway,
So basically, you'll be able to use your shovel to make your trenches, and I'll go over the trenches and the bunkers. But basically, the trenches, they will provide. So we're only going to talk about some of these things right now because some of it we're still working on. But basically, they're gonna provide you with a full cover, and they're also going to block the passage of the enemy. And they're also going to be very useful in connecting multiple bunkers together. And there is more to this that we're gonna get to next time. But there is going to be a critical importance for why these trenches are necessary, right? The bunkers are basically player-built underground bases. This is where they can be upgraded with a number of like AI defenses. Utility structures, fobs. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we have planned. Basically, what we want to do with these is we want players to build their own fobs, right? So right now we sort of give you this like static structure and you just kind of plop it down and you can spawn there, right? But we want players to build their own bases with their own like interiors, and allow them to basically like make them like how they want to, right? And there's going to be 3 tiers to upgrade. And you know what? I think the best way, Matt, is if we just show
Show the
people
video?
how this stuff works, right?
Okay.
There's a lot to talk about. So there. Oh,
But-
this is,
why did that not work? Well, here, talk for a second.
yes. So you guys are gonna see what we're talking about. That's the other one.
For some reason, it didn't actually take
Ah,
when I did this earlier.
that's fine.
Like I said before.
I am actually very excited, particularly with the possibility of having like several things. I think that's actually gonna be really cool. I think that having a lot of tools is gonna be a lot of fun. Not only for the players but for us as well, to be able to like conceptualize a lot of different like parts of bunkers that we can add on and stuff like that. That looks really cool.
well, there was always like a creative element that was missing
On both.
from the base building.
Yeah.
Also, yeah.
I think that like it would be really neat if, for instance, if you go and you attach, I don't know, you make this trench, like several lines of trenches and stuff like that, and people go slowly pushing, and then you take over a trench of somebody else's, and then all that defensiveness you can kind of like turn into somebody else's
Yes.
as well. I think that actually makes a big difference.
There we go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry
so,
about that snafu.
Yeah. So here's a demonstration on how the foundational part of this whole thing works. Just as you place down a build site for your trench, and then you switch to shovel and you shovel it just like you hit a build site with your hammer. Hopefully this voice is synced with the video, Matt. If not, that's fine. But
Should be.
yeah, so you can see the snapping system work here. You can basically snap another trench piece, and that will not only snap, but it will react to that first piece. So this is what we're talking about, where it will be.
It's gonna open up that little passage there, like the little T passage.
This is like the landscape modification that we were talking about. This is fully modifying the landscape, and you can hop in there, and so this is one of like the bunker pieces I was talking about, and you can attach those to your trenches as well, so that basically you can run from your bunkers. You can move in between your bunkers using your trench network. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool, actually.
Unfortunately, we were dropping frames for some reason, like a lot.
Oh, so they might not be able to see. You want to try doing the demo in here?
No, that's not going to help. It's the connection.
Oh, it's the connection.
Yeah. So I think it's fine now. It seems to have stabilized. So you can keep talking.
It's possible we could
This video will loop. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So.
Is it possible that there's a bandwidth issue at the office?
Could be. It's definitely not the PC. The PC's fine. So it's not the video.
Great. And everything's connected, right? Using cable.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
We're just dropping frames. People started saying that there was issues. Looks like we're back. Looks like we're good. Says it lags every few minutes, which is like
weird
because we're dropping frames every once in a while. But we haven't dropped frames in a little bit, so I think we're okay.
Cool.
Okay, so go ahead. You can keep talking.
All right.
So these are like
keep
four bunker parts together, right?
Yeah. So once you attach these bunkers, as you see in a moment, you can walk inside them, and it'll just be one holistic base, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
And you can keep expanding that. Like it's not like it's just like that's the size of it.
It's completely free form on that way, right?
Yeah, you can keep adding. I think we'll see some more here, but you can keep adding as many pieces to it as you want, which is really, really cool.
And what is this about now, Mark?
So this is the upgrading through the 3 tiers that I was talking about earlier. Basically, any of these pieces you can upgrade through up to 3 tiers, but this is just more of like a technical demonstration. In the actual game, you won't be able to upgrade them this easily.
Well, it's not going to be into hammer strokes.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing that we really want to see is at the front line, you start seeing these first tier type of trenches, but the further that you get into the back line, it starts getting towards the second tier, and then finally in the back line is the third tier, where you sort of have like these really hardened
concrete or metal, or
these like hardened lines that are really going to take a lot of effort in order to smash through. And so this is sort of showing the third tier here, which is the concrete tier.
Nice.
And right now all these rooms are like empty, but you're going to be able to like fill them with things, which is kind of like a huge point of the system, is that we want you guys again to make your own fobs. We want you to like fill them with things like tools and like storage boxes and all sorts of things, right? It was funny because a while back when we released the tall sandbags, right?
Oh yeah.
Everyone was trying to build something like this with the sandbags, but it was like
they're building cover for themselves, basically, right?
Right, but there was
meager tools that we gave.
There was no snapping, nothing actually worked. But we saw what players were actually trying to do with these, and we just wanted to go 100%, 100% with that, right? So
that's really cool.
It's worth noting that you'll see some of the like floating foliage stuff. That'll be polished.
Yeah.
In the future.
This is still.
It's still very early.
We're still doing.
Development. This is in development still. So base modification. So this part's kind of cool. This is the modifications that we were talking about. Basically, if you want to add like a door, there's not really a UI for it right now. That's work in progress. But basically, you can walk up to a door with a hammer. If you have the resources, you can make a door just like it's shown there, and then you can walk through it, right? And then in the same way here, if you want to add like a firing port through this bunker, so you can shoot out of it, or you can deploy a weapon. You can deploy a weapon, spoiler alert, and then you can shoot out of it, as you can see here, right? So
and then you still have full cover.
And you still have your full,
really nice.
you get your full cover. You can shoot out, and basically we want to see we don't even know what players are going to be able to like do with this, right? We don't even know what kind of bases. So someone's going to figure out what the optimal base is, and then we're going to keep on like adding onto the system, right?
There's going to be a lot of discussion of like, no, you should make your bases like in an S shape or in a square shape or whatever.
And this is upgrading your bunkers into like AI defense, right? So this is sort of first tier like AI defense here, and now this is able to shoot. But there's some cool things, because some of like the AI defenses can actually shoot into like the interior of the bunkers too. So you can actually use them if the enemy is able to make it into your trench network. These defenses will be effective against them as well. As you can see here, this is like building a rifle garrison into the bunker, so it can shoot at the enemies on the inside as well, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
It's super, super fun. This has been really fun for me personally. I'm very excited.
And this is sort of just showing the kind of thing that you can like end up with, if you put a lot of effort into it. So this is like a fully built up
bunker system
at the back line. You can see like the AI defenses there. There's like several types of defenses, and even these really large defenses here at the back that you can build. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, and then there's another sort of flying shot of like the second tier, and then this eventually. So this is sort of like the evolution that you'll see a trench system that goes from the first tier, naturally evolves into the third tier over time, and
man, this is so cool.
Yeah, and that's really, this is just at the beginning. There's a lot more cool things that we want to talk about next time, including some more like mountain goals. Players, really one of the things that we really want to see again would be some group of players going crazy and building out like something that's like the equivalent of like the Maginot Line, like basically like a super fortress, right?
And having fun with like building like these networks that it kind of reminds me. This is a long time ago when we have the tunnel networks in which people build those sprawling networks and covered a lot of space and like from one place to another, helping the people actually move around. And due to so many reasons, we remove them, but like the trenches could be
the proper version.
I
mean, we've also seen players try to build a wall across the whole region, right?
Yeah.
But you couldn't really do it. There weren't the tools. It was extremely crude.
Yeah.
But now you will be able to do that, right?
So there's a lot of questions. So for a lot of people asking questions, we're gonna do a really, really short Q&A at the end of the stream, and then we're also gonna answer some questions on the Discord. But we may not answer all your questions. I just want to let you know.
And there's
just
also more information. Right?
There's still a lot more coming.
Yeah.
Cool. So maybe we
so
can.
let's keep going on the development update, because that's not all.
No,
it's not all for part one.
For part one.
So here's some screenshots just before we move on, and here's sort of some of the teasers on what's going to be coming
for the Devstream, yeah.
On what's going to be coming next time. So don't forget to show up for the next one as well.
Same bat time.
Yeah.
Same bat trend.
And now let's move on to
channel.
Deployable weapons, right? So do you need to switch the video over for this, Matt, or is this actually going to work later?
Well, we're going to continue talking.
Let's find out. No. Just
Okay.
keep talking.
I can keep going. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Why does it do? I'm gonna write an angry letter.
Yeah. Well, so we're gonna be talking about something that it is. What is?
Yeah, we're just gonna have to hold on for a minute. But basically, the deployable weapon system. I can maybe just talk about a few things first. Basically, players have been asking for this for a really long time. Basically, being able to to deploy a weapon that can be like a static mount. So you can use it if you dismount it, someone else can walk up to it and they can also use it.
There we go.
Can you switch back to the slides,
Switch
Matt?
back to the slides, please.
Slides.
Whoop.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the thing that we really wanted to see, there was like certain people on the team that really wanted to push into the idea of a squad like based system where sort of like a mortar team or like a machine gun team where you have to have multiple people involved in this, right? And because this is going to be more powerful than your like standard weapons that are held. So we came with a system where one player has to carry a tripod, one player has to carry the actual weapon, and you really need like both parts if you want to deploy these weapons. So basically, it's a new class of weapons that can be deployed and mounted by any player. First part of it is a tripod. Basically, you can place a tripod on sandbags. You can place them on the ledges of a trench. Obviously, one of the reasons why I want to do this is because of the trench system.
You can also place them on the ground.
You can place it on the ground as well. We wanted to see players like shooting these heavier weapons from the safety point of a trench, right? Yeah. And the first weapon we're going to talk about is the infantry support gun. So basically, this is a infantry weapon that is effective against armored targets like tanks, right? And takes the new 30 millimeter round. And now, Matt, we can show the video to show you how it works.
Let's hope it's the right video now, because I have no idea. Okay, good.
There we go.
There you go.
Something's going right on this stream.
Cool.
Yeah, so you can see here how it works. First player deploys the tripod, steps away. Second player deploys the infantry support gun.
I just want to say that these animations are still temporary. I want to defend myself. They're still
Right.
standing.
And then if you're killed, or if you run away like a coward, like I did here, then the second player can mount that gun, and they take over. And we also want these to be placeable on the firing ports on the inside of the bunkers too.
Yeah.
So this stuff was made to go hand in hand with all the trench stuff that we've been working on.
Nice.
Right? Yeah.
So
Cool.
that's very cool.
Let's see. Yeah, so that's it for now. And this is the first part. Obviously, you guys are gonna have a lot of questions, and there's gonna be a lot more that's gonna be coming in the winter update. If you recall our summer update, the first stream we just sort of like talked about a few things, and then the second stream is when we sort of like revealed most of the content. So it's the same sort of thing this time, because things are not everything's ready yet. We just want to give you guys a first look, but expect a lot more to come on the next stream.
Yeah.
Right? So, having said that, Matt, do you want to?
Yeah, so we just have a special guest that we're going to bring on.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to just introduce what's going on here.
So
Yes.
we're gonna be calling Alcas or Nooba for the other people that
Nooba,
the
yeah.
people that know him as such. He's gonna be calling in, and we're gonna be talking to him a little bit. He's gonna be talking a little bit about the special announcement. I don't know what he's gonna say exactly, so I don't know what I should like.
I think it's safe to say that he's been involved in a small little project that's been going on
A very special project.
at Clapfoot for the last year or so, and he's finally ready to
Can you
talk about it.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
I don't know if people can hear you. I hope.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah,
can hear
okay,
you.
we're ready
I
to
think we're good to go.
we're ready to roll. All right, here we go.
Okay, awesome. So,
You're live.
All right, good job. Good job with the trench update, guys. That's looking awesome. It's going to be pretty epic. But hello, everybody. I have something completely different to talk about a completely different thing that we've been working on. we want to help. We want to ask you guys for some help with running a technical test. And to give you context as to what we're trying to do, in Foxhole, we can support somewhere around 170 players on the same server. And that number we want to push further, and we're going to be doing further optimizations to, push that even further in the future. But we've often wondered, what would be possible if we started from scratch? If we wrote a game server from scratch, how many people can we support on the server? So completely different from Foxhole. We've had Stefan, one of the developers on the team, do that exactly. He's written a game server from scratch, and right now it's ready for a public test. We hope to be able to support up to 1,000 people on the same server. Yes. So we said, okay, let's take this opportunity. We want to do a public test. Let's take this opportunity to run a fun event that explores Foxhole warfare in a much earlier time period. So we've come up with the Battle of Red River demo. It's something small we put together. Matt, if you want to run the video to give people an idea of
awesome
what we have so far.
Let's do it and hope it's the right video. We can make a bingo meme.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Alcas.
All right, guys. So if you want to, am I still on the stream?
Yeah.
No, you're still on. No,
Cool.
you're on.
So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to help with the test and partake in this one-time event, please sign up at foxholegame.com/Red River. We'll post a link at the places. Thanks a lot. We appreciate your help in advance. We'll see you on the battlefield.
Thanks,
Amazing.
Alcas.
Thank you.
Thank you. That looks,
See you, man.
that looks really cool, and I'm really excited about what those guys have been working on. I've actually been sort of like watching from the side constantly, and it's really cool to.
I had a lot of fun cutting that video because it was
Yeah.
just like sweet.
Cool.
I hope it played okay for everybody. But
We're gonna post it.
But we're gonna post it. So if it was a little like choppy, it is a stream and everything.
Yeah.
So we're gonna post it so you guys can get a better look at it and everything. So this has been an eventful stream. Obviously, there's a lot that we had to talk about today, and I feel like it was very. I don't know. I was a little nervous. Now I'm not.
Yeah,
now
well,
I feel okay.
Everything that was supposed to go.
Everything
wrong
that was,
already did.
it's so funny.
Doesn't matter now.
I mean, when everything goes wrong, you don't have to be nervous anymore.
Yeah, of course.
You got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose, right?
It's so funny. It's just Murphy's Law. We come in and we set all this stuff up early.
Yeah.
actually feel the streams that we don't prepare for go smoother.
They go smoothly. Anyway, so long story short, I'm sending Streamlabs a letter.
I know, right?
So anyway, let's move on to some QA. We're gonna do a little bit of QA here.
It's gonna be very short.
It's gonna be very short. So you guys probably have a lot of burning questions. So start asking them. Here's a really good one. Mystical48 asks, so will old buildings be removed / replaced by this new system?
So something that we sort of learned from the last big update in Foxhole, yes, we do learn, is that we want to be very careful when we make really big changes to the game. And we want to make sure that when we do make these changes, there is a transitional period, right? Where we don't just suddenly take something away from the players that they're used to, especially when you're trying to win, you're trying to do a certain thing. Yeah. And the new thing that we put in might not be what you're used to yet, right? So from that standpoint, we're actually going to try to at first keep a lot of the old system there. Maybe there'll be like a couple things that we're probably going to like remove, some of the really old and outdated things, but our goal is to like ease into it, so that you'll sort of see this as an extension at first, but slowly over time, right? We're hoping that this will be the future, right? But again, we're gonna be careful.
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna try to be as careful as possible.
Yeah.
Casto asks, how will the trench system work with variable elevation? For instance, Overlook Hill. And
specifically Overlook Hill.
And
I mean,
so,
Matt, you can talk about this.
Yeah, so like it's going to be sort of twofold. Number one is like in a place like Overlook Hill, you probably wouldn't really want to build many trenches there anyway. It's like not really suitable terrain. There will be limitations in that regard, but there's going to be lots of places on Overlook Hill that you will be able to build. I was doing it yesterday. But it's just, you won't be able to build like a really complete, like huge, massive base like you can in Heartlands. Doesn't make sense. But you can build trenches pretty freeform. Like we've done some crazy stuff with the trenches with all the different variable elevations.
There is some elevation limitation. Like if
yeah.
it's too steep, you are not able to build.
But why would you? It'd be hard to build a trench like that in real life in an elevation like that. So I think there are some limitations that way, and there's some limitations just in terms of angles and stuff like that. But for the most part, you'll probably be able to do what you want to do. That's been our experience so far. We're trying to make it as variable as possible for all the different elevations, and we're also doing some level design stuff to just make it a little bit more open in cases where it's like really bad. Do you have any thoughts, Mark?
No, that pretty much answers it.
I want to ask questions regarding the stuff we talked about. So Lysic 1989 asks, how deep can we expect the modular bits to be? Vehicle bunkers, spawn points, operation storages, etc. What are you thinking?
So
I think you're in the correct line, at least of thinking.
Yeah, like the first version of this is not going to have that much stuff.
Yeah.
Our goal is to show like the far extremes, like something that is more like smaller things, like a door, like a firing port, is the kind of thing we want to have at the beginning.
Which are already pretty big accomplishment on a technical level for us, just so you have an idea.
For sure, on that end. But another thing that we want to provide on the opposite end in the first version, right, is the idea of what can you build as a mountain goal. When you finally achieve this super fortress all the way back in the Heartlands or, something like that, we want there to be a goal for you, right? So that's going to be there too. Now, all that space in between, there's a lot of room for things that we can add. There's not going to be that much in there in the first version, but that's something in the coming months that we plan. But everything you said there, like the storage boxes, the spawns, we have plans for like listening posts. Yeah. Basically, a lot of the things that you see in the references that we showed at the beginning, we want to have those types of things.
Yeah, they all sound like things that fit the system, fit the tech that we made, and fit the concept of basically the game. So we want to do it.
There is nothing stopping us from making any of those things you mentioned. It's just a matter of time. It's not a question of like tech anymore, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm going to combine two questions together from Zach Reaver and Biebler. How will structured decay be changed, or will structured decay be changed in the new update? And can trenches be destroyed, and what happens when they are?
Yeah, so we're looking into the structured decay system. We're gonna see what can be done there, but obviously there is always like a technical limitation. You know, if you fill the map with like 1,000 or 1,000 is actually not a lot. You guys build more than 1,000 things
Yeah.
On any map.
in each map. But if you fill it with like, let's say like 10,000 structures, right? There has to be the limit. So there's always going to be a system in place for that. But I think our goal is that we want to at least make it so that when you get to, you know, if you're building a bunch of like first tier type of structures, okay, maybe it's going to like impact you more. But I think what we would want is if you build one of these like higher end like super fortresses, that you're not going to have to worry as much, right? And in terms of what happens to the landscape, basically it will restore itself, right? So if you blow up a trench, then the landscape will restore back to what it was previously.
Yeah.
And you know, there are a lot of benefits to that as well. Like if you do screw up your trench, like it allows you to like
You can
reposition.
cover it,
Like
yeah.
if it like, I think it'd be cool if it really permanently scarred the land, but it also, you know, that gets really tricky with gameplay. It has a lot of gameplay impact.
Yeah, imagine if somebody puts like just a hole in the wrong place and you're like, well.
So there are two questions that have come up like the entire stream. So I'm going to ask them. Can you whack people with shovels?
Not right now, no. Can you whack people with a hammer?
Yeah.
So-
it's a good point, HP.
Does that mean we don't want to do it? It's
So
just, like,
that's
lower priority.
So that is something that we are looking into. It's not off the table. So
It's also not high priority, let's be honest.
we'll see what happens. That's all I gotta say.
And then the other one is, can trenches be built on roads?
So that's one of those things where we want to look into where this should be limited, because we don't want there to be like a disruption for the regular flow of the game. So most likely in the first version, you won't be able to make them over roads. But if we do something like that, we would probably provide some sort of like an avenue, like being able to make a bridge over your trench. But I think these are the kind of things that we have to, going back to what I was saying at the beginning, one of the lessons we learned is that if we're going to heavily change the game, it's not the old days anymore where there's just a few people on like the Discord. There's a lot of like, at least there's a lot of like players that get drawn in for like the huge updates, and we want to make sure that that the game is like, as you know it, is still going to function, right? So that's one of those things that we got to worry about there.
Will we be able to build trench bridges for Logi like in the moors? This comes from Liquid Popsicle. I think you kind of just answered that.
I think that's almost like a certainty, and we're looking for the possibility of that coming in the first version. But I think it is at the end of the list as like a stretch goal as of now. So it's not a certainty now, but I think it's almost like a no-brainer. I don't think we can not have that, right?
In general.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth noting too that you know, even with this winter update, I think we're pretty committed to this. So it's going to be a feature that's built on pretty heavily. That's fair to say, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's just there's a lot of questions that are
How much time do we
sort of
have?
somewhat irrelevant. You know, a lot of similar questions like, can trenches be crossed by vehicles and like tanks and stuff? I think like,
Yeah, they're not gonna. So vehicles can't cross the trenches at first. So that's gonna be the starting point. One of the things is we really want to make sure that there's a point to building these trenches, and it's not just you know, it's not just there for show. So like players are gonna have to be able to like rely on these as like a barrier, right? So there's if you could just drive a vehicle through it, that's that's not going to work. But we have heard internally strong voices of wanting to support being able to roll over trenches with something like a tank. But again, this is something that we still have to work out.
Craig Struvers asks, stuff looks great, but are there plans for any counterplay? Like, how do you counter this as the opposing side? In other words, how do you assault a trench?
Lots of grenades.
So you can, I would argue that you would assault a trench in these forts in the same way that like you do anything else. I think one thing that we are definitely going to see, which is it's a bit of a spoiler from the next stream, but the tanks are definitely going to see like a buff in this update. We think that it's only fair that if the base building side gets a huge buff, that the tanks also are going to have a buff as well. And there's going to be new weapons like the infantry support gun. There's going to be new tools that you can use, right?
Liquid Possible has Popsicle. Liquid Popsicle has another question that's really good. Are trenches passive like sandbags? Will we be able to move up and take the enemy trench line, or will we have to destroy theirs and build our own?
So this is again something that we're going to talk about more in the next stream, but you're going to be able to make a barbed wire modification on one of the sides of a trench. So there's nothing about the actual trench as of now, right, that makes it for your side, right? But what you can do is if you place these modifications on one side of the trench, then it makes it so it's hard for the enemy to pass, whereas you have access to your trench.
But if you do enter the trench, then the trench is yours technically. Like there's no.
Yeah. Well, you also have to. Yes.
Unless there's something specifically making it, like for instance, a rifle. What is it called?
The rifle garrison.
The rifle garrison inside a bunker, for instance, that can shoot inside.
Yeah.
That one would be like an active defense against the other team.
Exactly.
But if you have an empty trench with an empty bunker or anything, or even with other things inside, you don't have to destroy that bunker just to make it your own.
That's right.
As if there's no defenses.
And we purposely made.
It's a hole in the ground, after all.
Exactly. And we purposely made upgrades like the rifle garrison in such a way that they can shoot into the trenches.
Yeah.
So that you can't just run into the trench and feel like you're safe. And actually, a lot of the thought that went into the combat update in the last update was in preparation for this actually. Mm-hmm. So that's what we meant when we said that some of the things that we're putting into this update is for testing for next update. And even things like the facility efficiency is that we want these fortresses to sort of span a longer period of time. So we want to make sure that wars, we're able to at least last a certain amount of length, so that when you spend the time to make a fortress like this, that there's actually like a payoff, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Kissland TV asks, is the Battle of Red River part of the Foxhole lore? Yes, it is officially canon Foxhole lore. I don't know what else to really say about that. Yeah, it is.
There's some cool lore a cool lore bit that you'll read when you play the demo.
It's I'm not gonna say anything. You'll find out. Yeah. Yes, though it is considered canon. Ironfire 187 is going to ask the last question. Can you dig out trenches from the inside, or do you have to get out to expand them? Yes, you can. You can dig them out from the inside. That's it.
Yes, you can.
That's an easy one, and it's actually really fun too. It feels really good. I don't know. Maybe I'm like hyping it up too much, but I really like it.
Hyping it up too much.
It's probably my favorite feature that we've ever put in the game.
More than hexes?
Yes, more than hexes. Okay, so that's it. we're gonna move on. A couple of us are going to be answering some questions on the Discord. Like I said before, we can't answer everything. We can't go into all the details and spoil the stream in a couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that. HB.
Yeah, so we're also gonna be answering some questions on the day it's posted on. We're gonna try to get to questions on the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. But as always, the best way to ask questions live on twitch.tv/Foxhole Game, which happens on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Usually every other Tuesday. The next one is December 3rd, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And if not, we are on Discord. It's discord.gg/Foxhole. And then you can ask us questions there. Join the community. Be happy. Be merry.
Great.
Awesome.
See you guys in 2 weeks.
Hopefully,
I have one plug. If you saw in the last stream, we announced Chronicle of Ashes was starting to come out. The first episode is out. The first chapter of the next episode is coming out tomorrow. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can go read it. I don't have a link. There'll be a link somewhere. HB will do it on the YouTubes.
Will
yeah. You can find it on our website. If there's nothing else, Mark?
No.
HB?
No.
All right. Stay foxy, everybody.